Think of it, Batman. And never again walk with us. Wind in your face. The holds. Ah, yes. I'd kill for that. Mr. Freeze, Batman the Animated Series. Love that quote. And if you can hear that in the background, it means I've succeeded as well in those areas. As in, yes, this is the melody of the episode of the Batman Animated Series, Heart of Ice. Oh, damn it, Mr. Freeze is such a depressing character. So bittersweet. I mean, literally, the line, to never again walk with a hot wind in your face, a warm hand to hold. Ah, yes, I'd kill for that. And the way the dude playing Mr. Freeze emphasizes the words, I'd kill for that, damn. Batman the Animated Series did not pull any damn punches. And there's even one scene where he's like, he either has no emotions or like he's beyond emotions. They have been frozen dead within him. And I'm just like, dude, what is your problem? And then I'm like, oh yeah, frozen wife, terminal illness. Yeah, that. Damn, that's powerful shit. Now, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be saying stuff like that. It's powerful, just powerfulness incarnate. People that did that episode, they really knew what they were doing. Heart of Ice is like one of those, diamonds in the rough that you just can't find anywhere else. Truly brilliant. Truly a work of art. And how is this relevant to this video? Because, my friends, here we have part 1 of What If Naruto was Mr. Freeze. DCWIU. DC What If Universe. Yes, DC What If Universe's What If Naruto was Mr. Freeze. Oh my god, I love the melody to this freaking episode. Oh, Heart of Ice is so damn depressing, but so damn badass. And it helps that the actor playing Mr. Freeze his delivery is just hardcore as hell. But then again, what do you expect whenever your competition is literally pretty much arguably the best Batman? Besides Keaton, but that's not animation. Basically, arguably the best animated Batman. I'll never phrase that. Arguably the best animated Batman. That being... I believe Kevin Conroy. Yeah, pretty much the best animated Batman. What do you expect when your freaking competition is Kevin freaking Conroy as the best animated Batman. So yeah, you have to be pretty hardcore in order to be able to stand, against him. And Mr. Freeze, oh boy, was he hardcore. Talking about his emotions being frozen dead within him, and to never again walk with a hot summer wind in your face, or like a warm hand to hold. Oh yes, I'd kill for that. And the emphasis on those last few words, like, damn man, what is your condition? I'm like, what is his wife condition? Like, heyo. Long live Mr. Freeze, man. Long live Mr. Freeze. And basically, you guys might be wondering, how exactly do I plan to make the Mr. Freeze story in Naruto? Well, pretty, I don't know if you could call this simple or not simple. Basically, ever since Naruto was kicked out of the orphanage, the people behind the scenes, the civilian council, the elders, and Danzo, basically been placing some secret seals, like several layered seals, to make it invisible to even the Hokage. That basically put it at -0 temperatures. Yeah, so basically Naruto's apartment is a freaking ice cube, and Hiruzen can't even tell because of the multi-layered seals. Because the civilian council, the elders, and Danzo are using prints from Jiraiya, Minato, and Kushina back whenever they were still alive on being able to create these type of sensations. And just were able to create this type of environment for Naruto. So yeah, basically Naruto is literally trapped in the equivalent of a meat freezer. Like a giant-ass cold storage room. Though the debate of the actual size is actually indeed debatable, considering it's just one apartment in the red light district of Konoha. But it does indeed seem that the Genjutsu, the several layer of Genjutsu, put over basically, put over the Fuinjutsu to make it invisible to even the most experienced ninja. Has indeed been working for them, civilian council, the elders, and Danzo for quite some time, because Naruto has been feeling the effects, but it's almost like he's too scared to tell anybody. And so he even tries to hide the fact that he's cold. So much to the point where he actually gains resistance to it. And there's even this one time in Naruto's life where he actually finds someone who is literally about to kill him, and he sees this person, and automatically he literally just sneaks up on them and snaps their neck. Because he could tell from something from within them that they had bad intentions on, his part. Basically, this person was an assassin. And from the seal work, Naruto being an Uzumaki, he could kind of naturally deal with the seals. From the seal work on their tongue, they weren't exactly meant to speak anything of what, the actual plan was. So Naruto just pulls an SCP-173 on this guy. And so, yeah. Basically, knowing that whatever he says in his defense, the civilian council, the elders, and Danzo are pretty much all going to be against him, Or if he thinks Danzo is going to be against him, no, Danzo will just try to use this opportunity to turn him into the village's weapon. But basically, Naruto's like, like whatever he says or does, the village is going to be against him. At least the majority of the village is going to be completely against him. And so, yeah. Not wanting to be turned into a weapon. Because basically, the last few seconds of this guy's life before the effect of actually having his neck snap, Naruto, inadvertently pulses the Kyuubi's chakra through the seal on the tongue, breaking it, allowing this person to speak. And seeing as they're so panicked because they just got their neck snapped, they literally jolts adrenaline through them, allowing them to speak their final last words, being the actual plan, and who did this and everything. And basically, after hearing all this, and why it was done, and how it was done, and who it was done by, Naruto, he is just over with this. At least that's how it would be if there wasn't one silver lining in all this. You see, there is indeed one person who would go to visit that their eyes, they could see through the multi-layered genjutsu, multi-layered fuinjutsu. The eye is powerful enough to see through the Byakugan. Yes, Hinata, Naruto had been so nice. So Hinata would come every now and again. She would have to hide, but, she would, be like an anonymous visitor. And so whenever this time she comes to visit and she sees a dead body, and Naruto basically on the other side, Hinata would have finally been able to see who she was talking to from the other side of the door, slipping food in, slipping, anything in to help with his situation. And basically finally getting the full slip, finally understanding the full picture, or at least as much as Naruto can tell her given his age. And basically he would kind of give in this Mr. Freeze-ish persona. And Mr. Freeze-ish type vibes. So basically, you see, Naruto has become so adept at so used to this that it seems his body won't stand anywhere else, or at least anything else besides what he's been getting so used to, what his body's been acclimating so well to, actually, considering the power of the beast within. That was even able to be said before the guy actually died, the Rudambu. He was even told basically what he is, the container for the demon, and that Danzo's plan was to have him be his weapon. Because, well, that's basically the plan for all Jinchurikis of each village. Suna's Jinchuriki, the Aikibi, Kumo's 2 Jinchuriki, that being the Nibi and Hachibi. I was 2 Jinchuriki, that being the Yanbi and the Rokubi, not Rokubi, but yeah, the Yambi and the Gobi. The Yambi and the Gobi. Kiri's 2 Jinchuriki, being the the Sanbi, and the Rokubi. Him being the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and there even been a hidden village Taki Gakure. Taki's Jinchuriki being the Nanabi. Yeah, basically the 9 of them, only one Jinchuriki not being from a major village, that being Taki's Jinchuriki, the Nabi Jinchuriki, her name being Fu. Basically, Naruto knowing all sorts of things about Jinchurikis now. And basically, Naruto just having this whole new outlook on life that's kind of been building up over the years. And so you kind of just can't help it. However, and I just like, don't worry, we'll get out of this. That's the thing Naruto knows, basically, whenever Hinata returns to the compound, Hiyachi's like, you've been hanging out with him again. It's like Hiyashi knows some stuff and some things. And basically, he's being super disapproving of, Hinata hanging out with Naruto. Branding Hinata, not just any branding, but this being like a several layered, cage bird seal. Yes, several layered, to the point where she actually becomes comatose, to the point of actual possible being able to mistake the comatose state for a terminal illness, and basically thrown out. And that's where, basically, thrown out, basically, only barely able to limp towards. She doesn't even know where she's limping towards before she just falls unconscious. But she doesn't need to see a door open, and whoever this person is who opened the door, they seem like, holy shit. And it is before she passes out. Basically, the person who opened that door was Naruto, and he opened the door. Two things happen whenever he opened that door. Possibly even three things. The first thing is realizing everything wrong with Hinata. Basically, she wasn't just branded, she was put in a coma, so say how bad she was branded. And another thing, seeing as he had opened the door, he had let a hot wind in, and that basically started to deteriorate him because of how used to the cold he was. Literally hearing from Kyuubi that this is basically his life now, that he cannot live in hot temperatures, and even to the point where he can't live in anything below sub-zero temperatures. If it's anything above, below sub-zero temperatures, he will not be able to live in it. It is unless he has some sort of, plan for technological advancement in order to help him survive out there in the hot. At least what would, for him consider to be hot. And Naruto, a third thing, basically, Naruto would have come up with some resourcefulness and ingenuity, in his brain hole, the noggin. His noggin. And actually come up with, some deciding factors in what he decided to do in the future, or was going to decide to do in the future. And you would even know what these components do, somewhat. Kyuubi having to fill in the rest. And will basically Kyuubi seeing that Naruto, one of the things he made with all this resourcefulness and stuff was an actual freeze suit. Yes, that will allow him to go out. Because his body, like inner body, would still be in sub-zero temperatures because he would still be in the freeze suit. However, another thing that he would have made is literally a thing like how Mr. Freeze did with his own wife in like the animated series and all the other adaptations afterwards. He would literally have put Hinata in some sort of stasis tank thing. Because she was like the only one. And so for this, like Naruto feels like there's only one way to really save her, and that's to erase all the sealing. Well, indeed Naruto knows about sealing, he doesn't really know enough to, he's not really all that sure right now that he'd be able to do it. So just for now, like, keeping her in stasis. And, well, a third technical invention that Naruto makes, the freeze gun, which technically attaches itself to the freeze suit once he activates the seal for it to pop. It pops like a kunai out of a storage seal. Only whenever this seal is activated, the freeze gun comes into existence from the suit. Because technically the Fuinjutsu marking is on the suit. So he can just automatically have the freeze gun at the ready. And, Naruto would even have, like, the glasses things that Mr. Freeze has. And would even have the thing over his head, like the big, thing. So, yeah. So, yeah. The first thing Naruto decides to do is basically decide that he's not longer going to, not any longer going to take any of the council or the elders or Donzo's shit. And what I mean when I say that is basically he breaks into the homes of the elders, and even the Hyuga elders, not just the village elders, but the Hyuga elders as well. And he decides to turn them into elder popsicles. Yes, via freeze gun. And basically, how the freeze gun works in this, and how the fuel for the actual freeze suit works in this, is that it's all powered by his chakra. And it actually works like a sort of a reverse seal as well. He doesn't necessarily have to control it. He just pumps more in. So as long as he has chakra, the freeze suit will stay active, and he'll still be able to use the freeze gun, just as long as he has chakra to pump in to both. And, well, yeah, he just turns the elders of both the Hyuga Council and the Council themselves into freaking elder popsicles. Like, freezing them alive. And the only ones he didn't freeze in their sleep were the council elders, because he wanted to see the horrified looks on their faces right before they got frozen to death. However, the Hyuga elders, the only reason why he froze them whenever they were asleep is, well, seeing as Hinata was already put in that stasis state, there's not really any, point. To him, there's not really any point into all of that. You know, everything's piece has been said. So that's about as much as he can do. Though he's still gonna freeze them. Don't get him wrong, he is far beyond being reasoned with about the whole being gentle or being, the nice kid. He is far beyond that. The emotions have died within him. They have been frozen to death. All he knows now is that he must have vengeance, like the cold hand of vengeance. Like the snow, clean, compromising. Like clean, uncompromising, and cold, as Batman would finish. Yes. More lines from the animated series. So basically, yeah. The Hyuga elders and the council elders, Hamura and Kaharu, they'd all be frozen. The only difference being, Hamura and Kaharu would have been alive whenever they were frozen to death. However, for Danzo, Naruto can basically tell because of the chakra flowing through his freeze suit, a specific feature with the eye parts, his special glasses he calls them, is that he can see shit that normally people can't see. It's like a fusion of the Sharingan and the Byakugan together. He can see certain shit. And that being, Danzo's multiple freaking Sharingan eyes. And so, just in order to stop Danzo from pulling any shit, he just freezes one of Danzo's arms and freezes that specific part of Danzo's face. Right before he just decides to, freeze him to, literally stick him to the ground and beat the ever-living shit out of him. Relentlessly. With the cold that he was stuck in came this unrelenting, Spartan rage whenever it came to how cold he would be towards his victims. And all because people tried to F them in his emotions. At least whenever he still had them. But no, now they are frozen inside him. Frozen dead inside him. Like the swift hand of vengeance. Oh, and boy, you better be believing he is dealing some swift hand of vengeance upon Danzo right about now. Only leaving once he was able to sense through his little glasses the chakra of the third Hokage. And he doesn't really want to have to, face what he called his GG before his emotions died inside him, frozen inside him. So basically, Naruto would take all of his supplies and take everything, and even take little freeze tank. He could actually close a little lid just so that nobody saw what was inside the tank while he was moving everything. And he would have chakra seals on the tank so that he could continue to power it even whenever it was unplugged, against something. So even though he was moving it and it wasn't necessarily plugged up to anything, he had like backup seals, like just to make sure it was still powered so he could still keep his beloved in said stasis. Further enforcing that, the whole vibe of Mr. Freeze on his dead lover and being replaced with Naruto and Hinata being in our comatose state, and Naruto feeling like Hinata was one of the only people who actually gave a shit. So, of course, he would want to keep her with him as he was traveling, because he knew he probably wasn't going to be welcomed for long once they actually figured it out. And eventually, he would gain a reputation as the Ice Fox. Though he would have more than one name. He would be specifically known as the Ice Fox, the one they call Mr. Freeze. At least would eventually call him Mr. Freeze. Because don't act like Naruto's not going to work on some certain stuff before he leaves the village. And basically anyone who tries to track him down, trying to make sure he can't leave the village, he's just going to use the freeze gun on them. Because Naruto has a shit ton of chakra, so it would really be hard to do. And so basically, the blood seals, it'd be perfectly fine because, the blood seals kind of react anyways, even though Naruto's kind of been put in the situation where that's specific temperatures. There's still, Uzumaki blood in there. So, yeah. It still would work the same way, in a way. So basically, Naruto would just be getting his shit before he left, without anyone able to really do anything to stop him. Or they'd pretty much get frozen to death. And basically, and those that would be there to actually, check up on the frozen bodies would notice as this was some sort of as there is a sort of chakra metal, this would be more like a chakra ice. Like Hyoten. But it would, unlike Hyoten, ice release, this wouldn't be the more chakra control you have, the better you were at it. This would be it wouldn't really matter the chakra control, just the more chakra you pumped in, the more powerful it would be, and the more, dangerous it would be. So yeah, basically, this is all working towards Naruto's favor, because he is a chakra monster freak. So yeah, basically, Naruto has good God. He just has free reign to do whatever. And, well, basically, where does Naruto plan to go? Or Naruto plans to go. Well, seeing as a little something that will help with him getting the name Mr. Freeze is that before he really technically makes himself known as anything else besides what he technically wants to be known as, if he wants to be known at all, that is the fact that he basically started all of his new life, as he were to call it, if anything, in the land of Frost. Yes, taking his whole thing about cold to a whole new level. Literally, there, he can literally be in and out of the freeze suit and there'd be no problem. Because he is literally in a place called the Land of Frost. So, yeah, basically Naruto will be able to be all chillax. Oh, and there would also be special seals that Naruto would have learned how to create. Basically, these being repulsion seals. And what would they be repelling? Anything that would basically, chakra sealing seals or repression seals, anything that would hinder him or try to take away his chakra or connection with his Biju. Basically, anything that would try to hinder him or make him weak, anything that would jeopardize him, basically. Anything jeopardizing to him, it would basically be a counter seal to all of that. So no one can touch him, basically. He not only has the freeze suit, which has another layer of these on him, like the first layer is on his body, and the second layer is on his freeze suit. It's like embedded into his freeze suit, actually. And there's even some of that stuff on his freeze gun. Because you don't want anyone trying to freaking keep him from being able to fire his freeze gun. So he basically makes himself untouchable by figuring out how to make seals which basically counteract any sort of seals that would try to ruin him. Like chakra-wise, like Biju-wise. Because Kurama, the actual name in which Kurama is actually shared by the time that they actually get to the Land of Frost. Finally ended up making friends with Naruto, seeing, the despair in his eyes. Like, at least what little of his eyes, like, Kurama could see. Because, little glasses. And, seeing as they're also a part of, like, protection, they would have the seals on them, too. Basically, everywhere where there would be, like, a necessary part of protection, or even just his body in general, and even over the A tetragram seal, there would be these extra seals to make sure he was basically, literally, untouchable. Basically, him and, Kurama would have actually gotten, pretty good friends. And, Naruto would be like, Kurama, nowadays it seems like you, me, and Hinata-chan are the only ones that can understand each other. And Kurama would be like, sadly so. Gaki, sadly so. Only he wouldn't even say Gaki, he would be like, sadly so, Naruto. Sadly so. However, there would have been one thing that Kurama had thought about, that it would have actually kind of made Naruto stay a little bit. He would kind of find a way to influence himself through Hinata, so that he could still, talk to her through Kurama's will. Like, she'd still be in the stasis, but there would be a sort of ability of cognitive thought for the Hyuga heiress. And so, there would be that. They'd be able to talk to each other. And Naruto being like, say it isn't so. And Naruto would just be like, is this because... And then basically Naruto would be like, Kurama, you genius. Hinata-chan, I missed you so much. I had one thought, the emotions dead inside me, frozen cold. But now that you are by my side, I won't let any of them touch you. And if they dare to even try, they will meet the swift hand of vengeance. As for what they try to do to you, thank you, Kurama. Thank you. Even if I'm not able to contact her directly, this is enough. Just to be able to know that she's okay. Somewhat. To know that I can still contact her. Even if there is not a warm hand to hold. Not a hot wind in my face. At least knowing that she's okay. Thank you. Thank you. God help me, so I thank you, Kurama. And Kurama would just be like, don't sweat it, kid. And basically, Hinata would be like, what's happening? Where are we? And Naruto would be like, we are in the land of frost. We are outcasts now. As if we ever belonged. You were too gentle for the Hyuga Elder's tastes. And I, as the Cherokee of the Nine Tails. Or Kurama, as now known. In fact, Hinata-chan, meet Kurama-chan. And Kurama is just like, yo. And Hinata's just like, wait. And then basically, Naruto's like, yes. Yes. This is perfect. And with the lack of a daimyo, or basically any sort of true leader in general, knowing how the actual leader of Frost is, we can deal out the swift hand of vengeance together. In a way. Oh, yes. I'd kill for that. And by the time they actually do go to meet like the Lord over like Frost Country, basically, Naruto has indeed developed two distinct, very different things. Basically, first, Hiraishin and then Rasengan. Yes, he has actually developed these, but specific versions. They both have to deal with the cold. Basically, the general level one is more or less the same, but the kunai is really made out of ice from the freeze gun. Like there's like different settings now. It's like a new and improved freeze gun that literally can make Hiraishin kunai out of ice and then shoot them, and basically he'll appear wherever he aimed. Yeah, it's like badass as hell. However, for level 2, it's basically he shoots the cold from his freeze gun, and basically he channels chakra into that cold wherever it went, and he will literally appear there. Yes, level 2 just uses the freeze gun in general. Yeah. Damn. And however, for the Rasengan, basically you could indeed consider this a complete one-handed Rasengan. And why complete is because basically, instead of being complete because it actually uses a nature transformation of wind, it's complete because even though it uses a nature transformation, it is not wind. It is actually an advanced nature transformation, being Hyoten, like Hyoten chakra, not Hyoten, just Hyoten chakra in general. And basically, it's a Hyoten chakra infused Rasengan. But it's not two-handed like with the clones, although he can kind of create his own like freeze clones. That's kind of like something that he's been getting used to, like with Hinata's help, giving him advice, being nice as she generally was. But he can actually do this one-handed. He literally infuses the freezing cold as Hyoten chakra, not Hyoten like actual ice release attacks, but just Hyoten chakra in general, and he melds it around and inside, eventually inside of the Smiling Spear or Rasengan, and basically is like, this is literally what he calls it. He calls it Swift Hand of Justice Rasengan. Or basically, Swift Rasengan. As it is, swift like the swift hand of justice. Or, unlike, actually, I'm an idiot. Swift hand of vengeance, that was the line. He calls it the Swift Rasengan because it is like the swift hand of vengeance. In his eyes. And even to somewhat, in Hinata's opinion, in her eyes as well. And she has the Byakugan, so you know that shit is real. And Kurama's even made it to the point where she can actually use her Byakugan, even though she's in the stasis state. And, even slowly starting to eradicate these several layered cage bird seals. With counter seals created from the Kurama Chakra alone, and seeing as she is in some sort of stasis that Naruto created, that basically the Kurama Chakra does not burn her. Because of the stasis, she actually is given mercy from the actual natural pain that would come from Kurama Chakra. Or just Beach Chakra in general. So Naruto's thinking his lucky stars for that decision. So yeah, basically, soon enough, there is indeed a cure coming. And that cure is the fact that Kurama, finds in it, good nature, goodwill of its heart. What actual heart it does have, being a chakra construct. That this should not be where it ends. This should not be, them being so distant. So slowly by slowly, like a, seal by seal, continuing to erase them so that one day they may be able to reunite. And Naruto just thinking, waiting for the day. And basically, it was important to just, discuss the two, like the Hiraishin and the Rasengan versions. Because that's basically what he uses to take out all the guards. And, at least the ones that aren't, automatically just oh, we come in peace. And basically also, the freaking Lord of Frost Country. Because dude is just generally a dick. So Naruto just decides, not only is he a dick, but he's also unconfident as hell. So basically, he instates himself as the new ruler of Frost Country. And basically, he has decided that he will be what the previous ruler could never be. Because not only was he a dick, he was pretty much an asshole. And confident, piece of shit asshole. He shall be the new ruler of Frost Country. Kind of like what the whole thing with Nagato was doing, as Pain, the god, and Conan the angel. Being the ruler of Rain Village, and all of Frost Country basically under now the rule of Naruto, given the alias of the Ice Fox, Mr. Freeze. It's the Ice Fox, kind of like an alias behind the name Mr. Freeze. That is literally the full name. Some know him as the Ice Fox, but most that know the true story behind the full meaning of the name know him as the Ice Fox, Mr. Freeze. And some just know him as Mr. Freeze. But that's the closest people that he can actually say that he can trust. And he even gets Hinata to help him figure out who he can truly trust. And Kurama even helps that too. So yeah, Hinata and Kurama helping him figure out who he can really actually trust with that information. So yes, the Ice Fox, Mr. Freeze, the true ruler of Frost Country. Oh, and boy, is it going to be a ride. Because, oh yes, I bet you Batman the Animated Series fans would kill for a part two. I'm just being an asshole. Oh boy. I love his character. This is